Do you suffer from irritable bowel syndrome? What is IBS? Well, first of all, this affects 5 to 10% of individuals worldwide. IBS can affect the little ones, the children, up to the adults. So both genders as well can be affected by IBS. Although IBS doesn't shorten a person's lifespan, but it can be really, really annoying and also affect quality of life. Patients typically with IBS have abnormalities in gut motility. There's also improper functioning of the immune system, could be either over or underactive immune systems. There's also an abnormal amount of bacteria in the gut that could lead to other things such as bloating, gassiness. The central nervous system's interpretation of these painful signs coming from the gut can be excruciating. So basically, if it's supposed to be a 3, it feels like a 10. So you're in so much pain that you don't actually want to work out. You don't want to do anything. So IBS can definitely affect a person's quality of life. So the cause of IBS is generally, unfortunately, unknown, and there is no cure towards IBS. However, there are some things that you can do to help minimize the symptoms if you have IBS. Research has found that in most cases of IBS, it's really the diet that triggers those unwanted symptoms. So specifically, reducing the amount of short-chain carbohydrates can decrease those symptoms for people who suffer from IBS. So a diet that's low in these carbohydrates called low FODMAP is actually this way. It's a fermented oligosaccharide, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols. I know that's a lot to take in. So I'm going to do this study for irritable bowel syndrome in 3 phases. So for today, I'm going to be talking about these FODMAPs and how this can help you. But tomorrow, I will then break down what FODMAP really is and then tell you why you need to avoid these things if you have irritable bowel syndrome. Good deal? So why are FODMAPs? What are FODMAPs and why? How can they be a problem to you? FODMAPs are short-chain carbohydrates. Remember, short chain. So this can be found in fruits, vegetables, even wheat, dairy products with lactose, and some natural and artificial sugars. So again, I will go over the specific types tomorrow in another health nutrition video for you guys about what types of foods to avoid. FODMAPs can become a problem, guys, because of how they are digested in our gut. So here's what happens. These foods are osmotic, meaning to say they're osmotic, they draw water in, they like water. So when they draw water into the gut, they also start to ferment. They get absorbed in the gut, they start to ferment. And when they start to ferment, they produce gas in our large intestine. And again, these foods, when you are eating them in large consuming amounts, then of course you're going to feel more of that bloatedness, more of that abdominal pain. And so that leads to the abdominal, that leads to the poor quality of life because you're constantly in a state of bloatedness. But however, keep in mind that not everybody has the same, it's not an allergy. Keep in mind, it's not an allergy, number 1. Number 2, not everybody reacts the same way with these FODMAPs. So for example, I have irritable bowel syndrome, but I can take in certain foods and Chris can't, even though he may have irritable bowel syndrome as well, or vice versa. We can actually have different viewpoints on certain foods because our body reacts to them differently. So even though the foods that I will tell you guys tomorrow, you may be okay with one certain item, someone else may not want it. So these are just some things to consider for you to start kind of, lessening on your diet, being more self-aware about how these foods make you feel, and that would help you live a better quality of life and decrease the symptoms that you have from irritable bowel syndrome. There was a study, according to Whelan et al., they implemented this low FODMAP diet, and they did it in 3 steps. And I'm going to go over that as well in another video on the 3 steps for the FOD diet. And they found that when they implemented these 3 steps, they found that these people decreased, 70% of their patients reported adequate relief from having this FODMAP diet. They had better quality of life. Their relationships were better, and even their quality of work was a lot better. So if you have any questions,